Hello everyone, this is Sunil Nair once again, and I'll be today discussing on the topic of agreement, manpower supply agreement and service agreement. What are the difference between that? Outsourcing agreement between two parties, between principal employer and a contractor, and the things that we should keep in mind while signing a outsourcing agreement, especially a contract agreement when you are deputing manpower supply in a principal employer's place. I have shared many some videos on maternity benefit or PF judgment, and if you like my video, kindly subscribe to my channel and give a thumbs up. So now going to the topic, we will discuss today about manpower supply agreement and service agreement. What is the difference between manpower supply agreement and service agreement? The first point that I like to discuss is what are the clauses that the agreement will have. Okay. So the clauses that agreement will be having is limitation of liability clause, indemnification clause, warranties and representation clause, responsibility of service provider, uh, compliance and regulations, consequences on terminations, assignment, relationship between the parties, severability clause, force majeure clause, and at the end there will be annexure. You can add annexure. Which will describe scope of service in the agreement. Now, when you have drafted all the agreement, manpower supply or service agreement, you have drafted each and everything. You have added your pointers, you have added everything. But what it makes manpower agreement or a service agreement? Because I have seen in my professional life many HR people, they just add a heading manpower supply agreement or a service agreement, and that's it. They feel that it is a manpower supply agreement and it is a service agreement. It doesn't happen that way. A manpower supply agreement in court of law can be disputed that it is a service agreement, and a service agreement can be disputed that it is a manpower supply agreement in court of law. So what are the, you need to not change the heading. The things are the agreement clauses that have been framed by you in the agreement. That is what governs the agreement. Basically, as a principal employer, if I am a principal employer, I will definitely go for a service agreement than a manpower supply agreement with a contractor, because when I go for manpower supply agreement, entire liability or everything will be of principal employer. It will come to me as a principal employer. I will have to bear. There is a relationship governed between the contractor employees and my permanent employees. So what happens is, second thing that we forget is the contract. When you talk about contractor, then it is governed under Contract Labor Rules and Regulation Abolition Act. So what does the act says? It says, first thing, as I stated in my earlier video also, about contractor employee should be working in a principal employee's premises for a non-core activity. That is the first thing. Second, it's a for 1 year time frame. So when you are appointing a contractor employee in your organization for more than 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, you are automatically giving him a chance to take or claim for permanency in your organization. And when you are appointing him for a core activity or core business of your company, then definitely you stand lot of chance to lose. So the first thing that has your principal employee you should take care is, you should go for a service agreement. Service agreement. Don't go for heading. Kindly, please don't go. It looks very worse, because you are professional people. We are all professional people. We shouldn't just go for the heading. It's manpower supply agreement, service agreement. You should go for the clauses. What are the clauses framed inside the agreement? Now, because if I frame a clause inside the agreement, that entire liability will be of a contractor, and as a principal employer, job will be that he will give this assignment. These are my assignments and these are the project cost. This costing I am giving to the contractor, and he will be liable to see that the costing is done, the work, the assignment that I have allotted, as a principal I have allotted, it will be his duty to do it. If there are any grievance, any grievance or any misunderstanding between the contractor employee or principal employer workers, any difference is there, it will be duty of the contractor to resolve it. The contract employee will be reporting to the contractor head or any person who is appointed by the contractor to look into the project. That is the first thing that you should take care of, because if you don't take care of this thing, then what happens is you are creating a relationship of employer and employee, between the contract employee and the principal employer. it is totally sham when it goes in court of law. It becomes dispute in court of law when a contractor employee says that I was working for core activity or core business of the company, and he says I don't know who is the contractor. The contractor keeps on changing. This has happened, but I am working in the same premises. But only the contractors have been changing, and I am working in the same premises. I am reporting to the principal employer. So what is happening? You are contracting your own agreement that you are signing with the different contractors. Never do that. So when a contractor employee, his tenure is about to finish, you give him a separate assignment. To non-core activity, you give him a separate assignment, you give him a separate designation, you show something that is he's working in something separate part. You should be able to show that he's working in a separate part. I'm not talking that you should do illegal thing, okay? Kindly don't take it in that sense. You should be working legally and binding as per law. So there, as a business entity, there will be very lot of opportunities in your organization which requires contract employees. You can appoint him there. And the second thing that you should most desperately take care of is what is the job or responsibility of the service provider or the contractor who will be deputing contractor employees in your organization. There should be clear-cut bifurcation. What are his responsibilities? All the statutory liabilities of the principal of the contractor employees should be taken care by the service provider, and he should submit all the details that he is abiding by all the law, labor law, regulations, compliance, and is abiding and doing everything in a peaceful and in a very good way, and he should provide the evidence of that to the principal employer. Secondly, in case of any dispute between the contract employee and a principal employee, who is the person to be taken care of such things? It is the contract employer. In this case, it will be the contractor, because the contract employer is contractor and not principal employer. He should be reporting to the contractor itself and not principal employer. All the job responsibilities, all the assignments that are going to him by any means that you should do such and such thing, it should be routed through contractor itself and not should go directly through principal employer. It should be taken care of. Now, in case of say termination or non-performance or non-completion of the project, who is liable? The person who is liable for such thing is the contractor. The dispute is between the principal employer and the contractor, and no way the contractor employee comes in the picture. That you should be very clear on. So now if you have given assignment to the contractor, so it is the job of the contractor to see that the assignment is completed in a very full-fledged way. In a particular time, it should be finished. It should be done in a very good way. But it is a case or nature of dispute. It should be there in the agreement itself that in case the project is not finished within a stipulated time, the so and so penalty will be levied on the contractor. Now, the scope of service. We'll go for scope of service. It is added as an annexure in many agreements. Annexure 1, Annexure 2, I don't know what not. I've seen many things. Trust me, I've seen many agreements of manpower supply agreement and service agreement. I have gone, what are you doing? Because principal employees are not getting really what they're doing. Because I'm seeing one of my clients who has his own software, who is keeping attendance record, who is keeping in and out record, who is keeping each and every record of the contractor employees with him. What is he doing? If it goes in court of law, the court will also say that you are not a principal employer, but the agreement is sham, even if the agreement states it is a service agreement. So it's the principal employer to take care of it. You should appoint a qualified person who is the qualified in that subject matter, in that agreement, because the liability that will create otherwise will be in crores and crores. The liability is like, you are not appointing one contractor to employ two contractor employees, but you are appointing maybe 1,000 in your organizations, and when this all goes disputed, it backfires like anything. So sorry for that. Now second thing, compliance and regulations should be part of the contract and not of the principal employer. Principal employer will only do checking and nothing else, and whether he has paid such and such service fee to the contractor, and whether the contractor employees that has been deputed by the contractor in the premises of the principal employer to carry out to full-fledged project or certain assignments, their statutory compliance have been taken care of by the contractor. So that you should be take care. You have full rights. Principal employer has full rights to take care of that whether statutory liabilities or statutory payouts have been done, like PF, ESIC payments have been done by 15th of every month. That should go that proper challan has been produced before you. You, principal employer, should only check and confirm that yes, everything has been done and in a proper way. Now, when these things happen, you are signing an agreement of outsourcing agreement, manpower supply agreement, and service agreement. The basic key things, again, I'll just tell you in short. I don't want to make the video too elaborate. I just want to make you understand the basic things that you should take care. That there should be no direct relationship with the contractor employee and the principal employer. Second thing, limitation of liability. Who will take the liability? The agreement should not be one-sided. Both the parties should sign the agreement in a good note, and it should reflect. Otherwise, it will be deemed as sham. Because if all the clauses are in your favor, in principal employer's favor, and everything is backfiring on contractor, definitely the court will say, what agreement? How did you sign it? And any time principal contractor can say, oh no, they made me sign this. I really don't know what is this. So it's good to make good evidence in a good proper way, in a legally way, and don't try to just ditch the law and go forward. You abide the law, and you just see that everything will fall in a proper place. Because many principal employers try to ditch the law, try to find out loopholes and everything. Because ultimately, in court of law, if any contractor employee goes in court of law, he will not only pull the contractor, he will pull the principal employer also. And many times the contractor employee has no grievance against the contractor, but he has the grievance against the principal employer. So what happening is, contractor is safe, he plays very safe over here, and principal employee's head is on roll. So you should be very clear what you do. A separate person, maybe a good IR person or ER, employee relation officer, should be appointed in your organization, who will look into it, who will close the agreement in a good note and take care of it. In case of any, if in any case, let's assume that case is before the court of law. The case goes before the court of law, and everything goes against you, and you are told to pay such and fine and everything and all. So, who is going to take the liability? Principal employer or contractor? You should think over it, and you should add this note in your agreement, that in case of any dispute, all the reasonable cost of the litigation, appointing a lawyer, attorney fees and everything will be for the principal employer, will be liability of the contractor. So this is what, in short, I will make a detailed note on this, and I will be making soon a very big video on this agreement, how to draft a manpower supply agreement and a service agreement, what things you should add. I will also share a draft also in my the video that I will make again. So now, if you like this video, kindly give us a thumbs up, and if you have any queries, kindly comment. I will try to make a video or comment on the same. Thanks everyone, and kindly give us a thumbs up.